Welcome back to the channel. Now we're all starting to know how good the S58 engine is. But not this one. This one has a huge hole in the side of it. All right, so here we have it. The S58 completely perished. Literally fat hole in the side of it. The piston is mangled up somewhere in there. The rod nowhere to be seen. Not only that, when the engine did blow, it threw oil everywhere and then it caught fire. So we've got fire damage on the car to fix also. We'll show you that in a bit. But this engine, well, it's basically scrap. So what we've done, we've gone and got another one, but we're not just gonna throw that engine in, we're going to upgrade it too. We've got the only mod that you really need to see this engine go well over 900 horsepower. Of course, with the tune along with it. Let's get these fitted to the engine and then get the engine back in the car. So here we are over at the ramp. You can see that we have our car that we're working on, the G82 M4. This one is MC crispy. As you can see, a little bit of the fire damage here, wiring all completely perished, fuel lines perished. We've got the new engine here. Now it looks a little bit messy on the pallet, but it's literally just arrived. This has only done 6,000 miles. I know exactly where it's come from because it's the same place that these have come from. Out of the M2 that he then made into X-Drive. So this just dropped straight out of the stock M2 and we are putting it into this M4. The benefit of buying the engine like this, one, I know the history of it. Two, it has also come with a full wiring loom because the one on MC Crispy here got toasted. So we don't need to worry about any of that. We can just replace everything altogether. But of course, we are going to be putting in these rods. So the first thing we need to do is strip it all down, get the head off so we can insert these lovely bad boys.
Show them folks what happened when you relentless and your actions start to match the path for what you intended. Put the time in to perfect the craft, I'm the truest.
Twin fuel pump, S58, twin turbo. All right, so now the ASMR's over, we're actually going to get into working on this engine. We're going to start by taking the turbos off because we need to actually remove the head from the block. We need to get everything off that's hanging on. So we'll get these off first and then we'll probably move on to the rocker cover, get that off, start on doing the head bolts and move on. That is everything we need to take off the sides of the engine so that we can release the head. I'm now going to work on getting the rocker cover off. Then we can start working on the head bolts and then the head is going to lift off, leaving just the block behind. We can then flip the block over, undo the sump and start taking the pistons out. For those of you that don't know, here at German Auto Works, we are a fully functioning BMW and Mini specialist workshop. So whether you're looking for general maintenance and repair like this X3, servicing, race cars, engine builds, we're fully BMW accredited and we are BMW approved to load all of your service history onto the servers, get it all done proper. Over to the website, germanautoworks.co.uk and fill out the contact form, we'll get straight back to you. Now, we should be able to lift this off to reveal a lovely, clean S58 inside. That is minty, isn't it? 6,000 miles, as we said at the start. Really nice. One of the things that I really like about how these engines have developed over the last couple of years, obviously we had the N54, then the N55, B58, now the S58. You can actually remove these heads without taking all the cams out. And they've engineered this to perfection. All this Valvetronic system is so neat and tidy now. You all right there, mate? It's so neat and tidy now. So yeah, it's just nice to see how things develop. These engines are mint. Right, so we've come across our first problem with our really, really expensive timing tool, really expensive, is it doesn't fit. So I'm assuming it's for a B58 as well or something. So I hope, and I can see just there is another hole. So I'm hoping, the problem is this hole is supposed to go in there, this one's supposed to go in there. So I'm hoping if I take these off, I can slide them over and then it's gonna work. Right, that is a relief because it has gone on exactly how we wanted. We just had to move it across, and that wasn't a waste of 700 quid. And it really was 700 quid. Moving on, we can now look at getting the timing chain off. To get the timing chain off, we have to remove these Vanos hubs. So we've got a special tool to get those off. Then we can take them out. Then we can undo all the head bolts with another special tool that was extortionate, a long T60, get all of them out, then we can lift the head off and we can have a look at what we got inside. Man United! So that's the head off and removed onto the table, looking really nice on the stand. Not really much to see here, to be honest. But what we can see is that we've got our 6 pistons. Little bit of soot there on the pistons, but it's to be expected. I mean, it's done 6,000 miles, so it has been used. So now what we're gonna do is flip this around. I'm gonna take the oil pan off and show you what that looks like. DJ, spin that shit. Oh. They didn't drain the oil. Probably should have checked that first, really, shouldn't I? Oh no! Rookie mistake. It is what it is. I wanted to show you how good coconut matting is at cleaning stuff up. You just bosh it on. Yeah. Give it a little bit of that. Yeah. Bit of this, bit of that. Bit of back and forth. Bit of to-in and throw-in. And like, seal it bang. The oil is gone. Not sponsored by Seal It Bang. Love that noise. Can't have been 6 litres. Right, so my theory is that actually there wasn't oil in it. It was that there was oil trapped in pockets in the block because there definitely wasn't 6.5 litres in the pot. So let's flip it over and carry on with what we were doing. Yeah, there's always going to be some come out. I mean, you can't get it all out. Yes, let's get these off. Done it. Thanks for letting me know it was opposite, Fred. Good job I remember. We need a lesson on reading instructions over here. It's like a tennis player, isn't it? When they hit the ball. What's your best tennis player noise? Is that it? Right, for those of you that are not quite familiar with what we are actually looking at here, we have a crankshaft. This is the underside of the S58 and this is the crankshaft, and connected to the crankshaft are the rods. Now if I spin this over, you get an idea of how it actually works. So it's nice and centralised in the middle, and then you've got these offset parts that the pistons connect to, and because of the shape of them, you can see the rods are going up and down as I rotate it. And that's pretty much how a crankshaft works. Similar to a pedal bike, pedals in the middle, that's the crank, and your legs are the rods. That's how this works. So what we're gonna have now is we need to split these rods. Let me get the rod. For visualization, the rod has a split in this area here because we need to be able to get it round the crankshaft. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove these two bolts, which are here and here, and then this is gonna come off, and that is the cap. With that being off, we can then push the piston through and out the top of the engine, which is currently bottom, and then the actual piston and the rod will come out connected together, and you'll see that very shortly. Right, so Oliver very kindly got all the rods and pistons out. The next stage is going to be to actually split the rod from the piston. The way we do that, there's a little pin in there which is holding the gudgeon pin in. We just need to pop that out, push the gudgeon pin out and separate these. Now it's a different day to the last clip because we had to wait an age for some more special tools. But these ones are very much so needed. We're going to run through those in a minute, but first we're going to talk about how you put one of these rods onto one of these pistons. What we have here is the standard piston and the standard rod. I spoke earlier in the last clip about a pin you had to take out. You actually have to take out a clip. I just got my words mixed up. So I've actually gone and removed that clip from there. So that's now out. Then we have the gudgeon pin, a pin that goes through the rod, and then we're just going to get that out so I can push it, hopefully. There we go. So that's the gudgeon pin moved out the way. I can now separate the piston from the OEM rod. So then we're going to take the rod, we're going to place it onto the old piston, and we're just going to push that gudgeon pin through. Can be a little bit tight, but that one slips straight in. And we're going to make sure that the gudgeon pin is all the way up to the clip, the circlip on the other side. Now we're into the stage of reinserting a clip. These are new clips. You should replace them really when you take them off, so that's the old one. You've got another special tool here, and what this basically does is just helps you get this clip into the piston, because these are quite hard to use, and if you use like pliers and stuff, you can mark things. So this is quite neat. Essentially, the clip goes onto the tool like that. It then goes down through the gudgeon pin, and then we start to push it in like that. And then to finish it off, we hit it like that, and in is the circlip. How nice was that? Was that worth me waiting 4 days for? What do you reckon, Tom? Potentially. Potentially. That was quite satisfying, but there you have it. The next special tool, very excited about this. So essentially what this does, you might have seen other people using a piston ring compression tool where you tighten it up on a little ratchet. This is better than that. So these are already to 84mm, as we can see there on the special tool number. And essentially we'll lay this over the block, we'll put the piston down in, and then we can literally just push it through just like that, and it's just going to go in and plonk into the engine. Right, now we've got the rod connected to the piston, we can now talk about the bearing shells. Here they are. We have the upper and the lower bearing shell. They are different colours. strange, but I'm assured they are right. So what we can see here, got this little tab on the edge of the bearing shell, and we need to match that up with the tabs on the piston. So we're just going to lower that down, and then it's just a case of pushing it in, getting it nice and level. So that's the first one in, and then we're just going to put a little bit of engine oil on there, just to give it a little bit of lubrication before we put it onto the crank. Next one, same thing, going to line it up on the cap and then push it on, and a bit of lubrication again. So we're not actually going to install this onto the rod now because we've got to put it around the crank. So the next thing to do is to use our exciting special tool. Last thing we've got to talk about before we go in is we want to make sure that our piston rings are clocked in the right orientation. We don't want the two ends of the piston rings to be at the same place because you're going to get some pass-through of exhaust gases there. I know they're going to be a small gap once it's clamped up, but that still is a gap. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this 180 degrees round so that there's no chances of them lining up. We'll check for the oil scraper as well, but that's relatively all right how it is. So now we are ready to put it in. We're going to just check that the arrow on the crown is pointing the front of the engine. We're going to lower it down into the special tool, get it all nice and lined up, and we're going to find that sweet spot, and then we just push it in. There we go. Now what we've got to do is install our cap. So for that, we're just going to spin the engine over, push this down so it goes round the crank, and then we can get that connected. Bit of lubrication there on the crank, and now what we're going to do is we're going to bring that rod up over the journal, and there they are. And then we can get the other side, matching up the numbers of course, so they're the right way round. And then we can just initially put those bolts in. We're not going to tighten them up fully yet, just going to put them in for now. They have been pre-lubed. They actually have. And these are ARP bolts, so these are different to the OEM ones. The OEM ones are stretch bolts, okay? So the OEM ones, they've got this funny ribbing here, and they actually will stretch, and it's sort of like an elastic band. So you tighten it over a certain amount of torque, and then you put an angle on it, and what that does is it stretches it, which kind of gives it a little bit of a elasticity. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there we go. So that is one rod and piston into the S58. Now all we need to do is install the other 5. So we're going to crack on with that, and then we can start building it back up. All right, so next we're going to put this plate on. So we've done now with all of the torquing of the rods. So we're going to put this lovely bit of apparatus on, a little scavenger set up in there. It's quite nice. Oil basically sucks up from here and here. When the engine, basically oil sloshes to the front under braking, it stops oil starvation, which is great. So we're going to get this one all bolted up and torqued down, and then we're going to put the oil pump on, and then we can put the sump on, flip it over, start getting that new head gasket going. Right, let's play how much, Tom. So we've got the new gaskets here. How much do you reckon these gaskets cost for an S58?
Tenner.
So we've
20
got,
quid, it's BMW.
no, £32 plus VAT, and they had to come from Germany. Right, that's the bottom end together. Now we are on to the head gasket. So we're just going to get this on, then we can drop the head on and start getting those head bolts done up. It's going back together nice and quickly. now we're going to need to take the engine off the engine stand because we need to access this back area here. The reason why we need to put the flywheel on, or the sprocket wheel, is because we need the pin to go through down here to actually time the engine up into top dead center, and then we can get the top timed up with the bottom. It's so important that you get the bottom timed up with the top, otherwise the valves can crash into the pistons and that's no good for no one. So we're going to just lift it up on the forklift so we can access this area, do all our timing and then put it back on. Okay, at this moment in time, we have our cams locked in place and these are loose so they can spin by themselves. So cams are locked, now we need to get the crankshaft locked. So what we've got here is the pin and it goes through the engine block here and into the sprocket wheel. So we're going to push it through and you can see how that is now protruded. So that's locked in place. That means the bottom and the top of the engine is in perfect time. And then we can go ahead and tighten up these Vanos hub bolts. All right, now the engine is coming back together, we're going to talk about the next mod, and that is the turbos. Here we have two different styles. This is the stock turbo from the S58. So this is good for up to about 900, 950 horsepower. If you want to break that 1000 horsepower barrier, you're going to need to upgrade the turbos, and that's what we've got here. This particular one is a TTE turbo. You can see straight away they've made the diameter much bigger for the intake, a different impeller in there, and we've also got this really nice heat management already welded or tack welded to the turbo. That's really nice. It's going to help keep temperatures inside the turbo and not everywhere else. This setup is going to get you past that 1000 horsepower mark. It could go all the way up to 1200, maybe even more. And if you want to be doing that, this is the way you want to go. Something else we can see here is the massive size difference of the exhaust turbine there. So huge difference, way more flow, way more power. Now, I cannot stress to you guys enough how lovely these S58s go together. BMW really thought about the technician in this case. Joel and I have just finished getting the turbos on. I get all the wiring loom fitted and then the intake manifold. I then move on to the top of the engine where I can get all of the fuel rail, injectors and coils installed, followed by the wiring loom that connects it all together. S58 back together now, looking really nice, and of course we've got those turbos slung on the engine. With the turbos has come new intake pipes. The reason for it is because that diameter is bigger, so the OEM ones don't fit. This one, lovely, billet, aluminium, all one piece. This one looks a little bit like a prototype, but I'm sure that's either in development still, or maybe even that is just the part. I will say the OEM ones are also plastic, so that just may well be the way they do it these days, 3D printed. Either way, they look really nice. They're gonna go on. Essentially, the whole engine is done. We're just waiting on a couple of bits to get these heat shields on, and then it's gonna be going back in the car. So let's just recap now on this S58. We've got the Tom Wrigley forged rods in there, capable of up to 1200 horsepower. We've also got the TTE turbos that's going to help it get there. This customer's most likely going to be running it around the 900 to 950 mark. Obviously, being a track car, it doesn't need to be that mad power, but the capability is there. And if you want your S58 to have that kind of capability, get it booked in, get it done for you. So that's us wrapped up here on the S58. I hope you've enjoyed it. We are now going to get it fitted back into the car. If you do want to see us fitting an engine on a car, there's a video up here where we did it on Ricky's 140i drag car. If you want to see more content on this M4, then drop a comment below and we'll make sure we get it back in, maybe even take it to the track.